Hello, YouTube and BitChute friends. I keep saying BitChute friends, but I don't think I'm loading much up to BitChute anymore. Not sure what I'm going to do with my BitChute channel. But anyway, uh, another bit of a video. My videos now basically represent, as much as I can, conjure within myself the essence of an experience, the essence of something that I'm going through, like so many other people. Everybody has their experience on a whole range, in a complete spectrum, from anything that you want to consider to be an experience. I don't know. It's obviously, as a physical being, you have experiences that are physical. You have experiences that are mental, emotional, um, psychic, even, all the way into a realm of the inexplicable mystery that we are a part of, that we still experience without having the ability to cogitate or verbalize anything. I'm sort of distressed here a little bit too, because my landlord is not fixing a pigeon issue. They're in the roof, and I have a fly infestation. I don't know how to deal with this emotionally from a karma point of view. You know, the ahimsa people don't kill anything, but these little bastards are all over the place, and the pigeons are shitting on the windowsills, and they're managing. I don't know how they get through the screens or whatever, but they manage to get through. And anyway, yeah. So I've been noodling on what I've been talking about in the last videos over the last year and a half, regarding illness. I said, what is illness? And I've been noodling on a sort of sequel of that, which is, what is healing? What I'm understanding, going through my experience. And a colleague and friend of mine sent me a link to an esoteric sort of Eastern type, talking about the koshas, which are different states of being within consciousness, obviously referring to us as people. We're beings, we're physical beings, so everything goes through that perspective, or that spectrum of understanding something. So the koshas are 5 states, apparently, of experiencing consciousness within the realm of our existence, the way we are. That's the easiest way to put it, 5 states of consciousness. And the one thing that struck me, this is, Bruce, if you're listening, the one thing that struck me in the explanation, well, actually, there are 2 things. One, an omission, and one, a thing that was interesting, the way this fellow had perceived these different states of experiencing consciousness. And that is, generally speaking, the swamis go in reverse. They go from the physical plane to the bliss side of things. And the bliss, I think, refers to that inexplicable sense of being that is totally in touch with the mystery, that has embraced, not just being in touch, but has embraced the mystery, what a lot of people refer to in some kind of religious experience as a sort of God experience, omnipotent being experience of some kind. So those 5 states, I don't know exactly. They're sort of kind of going from the grunt, physical, blood and guts, we're a bag of blood, we're a container containing a bunch of liquid, from that sort of aspect, through mind, emotion, prana. I think there are different explanations. I'm actually not too caught up in understanding or knowing what the details of any of those states might be. There are 5 of them. And the point that this fellow made was that most esoterics or swamis tend to go from the physical side when they explain it, rather than from the kind of what I took to be the highest state, or that state of bliss side, usually referring in terms of our own memories as human beings, what we might experience as children when we're like from zero or even pre-birth, what might be going on in our collection of cells that are conscious up until a certain age, depending on our environment, how kind, generous, loving our surroundings are, as opposed to how brutal and traumatizing our surroundings are. I think one gets hauled out of bliss very quickly when they're slapped on the ass when they're born. I think bliss lasts a short time, or the experience of this physical world becomes predominant. Hopefully, the children can maintain that sense of bliss. And sometimes I would even say that people that are older and have experienced life in a full way may return to this kind of childlike state, maybe state of bliss. Anyway, my point is that what I appreciated on the presentation was that the presenter focused on the highest aspect first and working down. I'm not really thinking that he's saying there is one state is worse or better than another, other than the fact that I would conclude that bliss is the highest state. Let's be in a state of bliss. So being physical grunts stuck in our traumatized emotions is not really that pleasant. So you want to get out of that. And I guess death takes care of it, ultimately. You know, whatever happens there, the physical body has its limitations, whereas the body in bliss, or that consciousness that is considered bliss, is, like I say, it's my romance with eternity, and this is a continuation to be continued. Coffee with chaga. I continue my protocol of what I consider to be part of my healing. And I'll talk about healing in a second. The omission on the presentation, again, I think this is such a blind spot these wonderful sounding people have, some more wonderful than others. They remain within a framework of understanding that is fundamentally relying on words to express something they may actually feel, but are limited. I give tolerance here because words are very difficult to express something that is inexpressible in words. So the shortcomings that I see are intrinsically part of the limitations within language. Although the further grunt you become, the more you rely on words to be the ultimate way of communicating. The bastards know it's not, the bastards know it's words that can capture people, because they know people are stuck in their physical, most space vibration, and they use the words that saturate the cerebellums of the population into submission, whatever it is they've managed to understand. So they're a little bit higher than the grunts, but not much. And they are able to use the words to convince people to be afraid or happy or whatever it is. Whatever the program might be that they want to turn on, what channel they want to turn on, they can turn on through words. So words are very suspect to me, especially in expressing what I would consider to be what a lot of people feel has to do with truth. Truth usually is associated with words. And I've always said that I much prefer an honest person to a person that is a person pursuing truth. You can do whatever you want to do to make yourself more complete in life and figure that you have a truth. But for me, it's always more important to deal with people that are honest, because honest people will reflect and make the right choices, ultimately. And here's where I'm coming to the omission. Again, I harp on this all the time, and I don't know why it's a sore spot for me, because a lot of people respond to me and say, well, you know, it's inherent in their presentation that, of course, conscience is the essence of our being in terms of doing the right thing. But why not talk about that? Why not put that as a level of consciousness, a level of experiencing consciousness with those 5, whatever koshas they are? Maybe there's 6. I would add a 6th that would be very much linked to the 5th one, or the first, whichever you want to look at, the bliss idea of having an active, of being able to activate conscience. And in a state of bliss, I suspect it's not an issue, because doing the right or wrong thing is not something that would be of any kind of preoccupation, because you are part of something rather than apart from something, acting on, against, with, or what. It's like you're just part of it. So, but I would still insist, in my understanding of this experience of consciousness, that conscience needs to be a very central motif in our understanding. So here's a shortcoming. And people may argue and say, well, you know, the love principle and all those kind of things. Yes, it's inherent, but I'm not going to assume. I'd like to hear it. I want them to say it. I want them to say it the way I'm saying it, because it is assumed or expected to be there. But as we see in the world out there, it's not. The bastards are, running the circus. The clowns are running the circus. The clowns that have no conscience are running the circus. So it's important to point this out. That's what I'm saying. And for the people that it's obvious, it's inherent. Well, wonderful for you. I got to work on it every day. I make mistakes, and I want to rectify the things that I do wrong. So this is very important. Anyway, that's my point. I think that I tend to reflect and think about myself, not in terms of states of consciousness, so much as getting into that highest state, what I understand to be that highest state within myself at any given moment. It's overlapping. Everything is overlapping. There isn't like the way it's described. It's distinctly mind, it's body, it's emotion, it's energy, prana, it's bliss. It's not separate. It's all one thing as we are experiencing consciousness, which is everything. Consciousness is everything. What isn't everything is conscience. Conscience is not everything, because we see the psychopaths and the neurotic sociopaths and all the people that are on a scale from zero consciousness to highest, or zero conscious to highest conscience. And you see, even I have sometimes, I reflect on this, the word consciousness and conscience are so close, and it's for a reason. I say it's for a reason. Words are there not just because, it just happened to be. No, there's a reason, and it's confusing, because people always confuse consciousness with conscience. Anyway, that's my thought on my good friend and colleague, fabulous artist, Bruce. We're chatting about things and possibly he was talking about doing something with TikTok. I've never done that. Sort of a live thing. We'll see where it goes. And just another shout out to a wonderful person, someone who's been following me since my nuclear activity, who's done a free radical video as well, who's now a collector of my work, bought a fabulous painting. One of my first, I think it was in 2011, the painting I made shortly after the Fukushima plant blew up, still spewing its ugly shit, the isotopes, the nuclear man-made isotopes, into the environment, non-ending. It's a gift that keeps on giving. This has been like 13, 14 years now. Anyway, uh, I've got a new collector of my work. I'm very grateful. It was a little bit difficult getting it all sorted out and stuff, but painting's on the way to you if you're listening to this. So anyway, it's always wonderful to get for me as a just personally as a painter to have somebody appreciate the work enough and want it on their wall. This is I think that this is sort of, without saying, a lot of people take it for granted. Oh, yeah, you're a professional artist and you sell your paintings and all that kind of stuff. No, every single time it's a thrill. It's wonderful. It's like the idea of a person vibrating to your frequencies in a sense. So anyway, yeah. So the I will probably do a few more videos on the idea of healing, because it has now shifted. My own approach to what I'm experiencing in terms of what is illness has now shifted into the concept of healing. But I understand that what exactly is healing? What is that? What is it that will transition me from a state of dis-ease into a state of ease, into a state of bliss even? It's possible that bliss and healing have a connection here. Or even, for sure, I know that emotions and mind has a connection. Healing is fundamentally, I'll spill it out right here, it's a state that we are in. If we're in a state of healing, we reverse dis-ease. And treatments can be part of it. Treatments have their place. One important thing, what I want to tell people: stay away from the white coats if you want to heal. If you want to be treated and think of treatments as healing, that's not how it works. Treatments are very, the word comes to mind, temporal, and in terms of time, it's very time related. It's like a short period. It's like treatments may work for a short period of time, and some people may have success with treatments over a longer period of time, but ultimately any healing has nothing to do with the treatment. That's what I'm concluding. I have at this point stopped all my naturopathic treatments and protocols for the most part. I still do the essential, the very essential vitamin C, vitamin D, B12 on a regular basis. Let me say, well, on a daily to every other day basis. They're just the fundamental ones. I was very low. My blood showed up very low in vitamin B12 and D3, and I've been doing that at high optimal levels for the last probably I don't know, maybe 16, 17, 18 months. I also do chaga and reishi, cordyceps, turkey tail, the medicinal mushrooms, as well as a new addition, which is soursop tea. And soursop tea is recommended by my curandera. I call her a healing lady, a healer, that I'm seeing for treatments. But treatments are merely treatments. They're not healing. So her ability is to push me into healing is aside from the treatment. It's a curious thing, because the treatments are kind of essential in the sense that the person administering the treatment is connected to the treatment in order to affect healing. And I think that the white coats, their treatments don't work because they're not connected to the treatments that they're giving. They're just doing it as a kind of exterior manifestation of pay me. It's like if you want to make some money, you have to give somebody treatments. But when you reach a level of being able to contact the mystery in what you're able to do as a human being, including treatments or making a painting, it's not based on any kind of physical world requirement, because it conjures and it evokes a sense of self in a larger context that I prefer to call the mystery. So my sense of healing is very closely related to a state of being that invokes the highest aspects of ourselves, that is able to eliminate the more base emotions. When I say base emotions, I'm referring to those emotions that create distress, like fear, anger, hatred, animosity, all those kind of things that we relate to unpleasant experiences when we have them within ourselves or when we're confronted with it, when it is manifested in some sort of a conflict. So we are in conflict. When we're in dis-ease, we are in conflict in some way, and we need to end that conflict. And the conflict is encouraged by the white coats. The white coats make sure that even in their well-meaningness, they always leave you with ideas and thoughts that make you afraid about something. Even if they're saying, oh, we're going to help and we got this, we got this, it's like, don't worry and whatever, but let's keep an eye on your kidneys. This was my last encounter. I fired my first urologist, who was a fucking barbarian. He was a disgusting. He shouldn't even qualify to be a caretaker in terms of ability. I'm saying in terms of expertise. He would not qualify to take out the garbage from an insane asylum. He would not be allowed to be hired to do the most menial thing in the basement of an insane asylum. So I fired him. And I let him know. I let him know what he had done to me. So those people are not connected. Number one, I said, to the treatments they give. They just, okay, here I was thinking about this. I was reflecting on how it is that these people work. Like even in the shit show, when the shit show happened, the beer virus hit, all these doctors, these men of science, women of science, capitulated to the system. And I think the system is capable of taking a person's conscience, reversing it, however it's able to do that, like I say, with words and dogma and rules, whatever they do, and manipulate a person's conscience to the point where they will administer malady rather than healing. This is what they do. Stay away from the white coats. You will not be healed by the white coats. They will administer treatment that may have an effect, but they always knock it over with their ass, somehow or other. You're much better off. Let's see. Well, naturopaths can be a better solution in many ways, because I saw three, with the exception of one. Two of them were pretty decent, and one of the two was really excellent. I liked him. But the first, or one of them, was really a brute as well. He had some valuable things, but it was so impersonal. It was so detached. It was like, it was difficult. So you have to drop those people out of your spectrum of healers and bring in the people that actually create a state of being within you, within me, that facilitate this thing called healing. Eliminating dis-ease. It's in the word, people. It's in the word. It's there for a reason, dis-ease. If you're not at ease, you will be ill. I got ill because I was not at ease. My body, my physical being, drifted into dis-ease. So it's been this period of time. It has taken me to become aware of what it means to move through this experience, whichever way I will end up. it's a challenge. It's a challenge every day. It's not like, oh, geez, I figured it out. There it goes. It's a work in progress. It actually overlaps into, at a certain point, it goes beyond my physical body into a more extended realm of existence. Like beyond the body that I experience, healing goes beyond my body. It goes further out. And it includes people I have around me that are able to assist in my own personal challenge and process. So it's very important to be surrounded. I don't know if you want to call it an aura or something, but that aura cannot be interfered with when you're healing. You need to have, as much as possible, that aura around us, whether it's extending far or it's close. I don't know. I'm just sort of making this up now because it makes sense. It's just hitting me that it needs not to be interfered with in any negative way. That's very important as well. So the idea of healing is a state of being. It's not something you do to yourself, but it's something that you are. That's how I see it. That as I go through this, I will evolve in my experience and express myself beyond this ease. Don't know if it makes sense to me in a sort of, it's trickling into my awareness. It's not completely formed yet. As I'm speaking, you may say, well, he sounds unsure. Well, it's a matter of being able to articulate something that is just beginning to filter into my frontal lobe, or wherever it does in my mind. My mind is beginning to digest the idea of being in a state of bliss, which would likely supersede all kind of other physical experience, but still be affecting the physical world, the way I experience it. Am I in a state of bliss? No. The closest I come to a state of bliss, I believe, is when I'm able to visually articulate an inner state of being that can be disturbing. It's not necessarily like that artist, I think he's a charlatan, that Gray, who does these mandala type things, which are cute sort of representations of blissness. I find them extremely boring, those mandala things that express the peace and love and all that kind of thing with visually, and they're just piggybacking on dogma of the swamis. Like, you know, when you listen to swamis who are captivating your imagination, they do it very cleverly and implant things in your mind that you automatically interpret as being what they would like you to see. It's like Goebbels manipulating and brainwashing us into accepting brutality as love and peace, or, you know, we bring democracy by the end of a gun. The U.S., you know, their policy of militarism is basically we're bringing democracy by killing you all. The contradiction there, right? The irony is in the contradiction. It's brilliant. It's fabulous. So the same way it works on the esoteric side as well. That I'm just giving this. I forget, it's Alex Gray is his name. I've come across, people have said, oh, look at Alex Gray's paintings. They're, you know, I think they're fucking brutal. Some of the stuff is really sick and disturbing, you know, with the eyeballs and the weird faces and heads. And it's sort of like, if you ever looked at Pope Benedict sat in front of this shitty, ugly sort of mural sculpture thing with dead bodies and all that kind of pedophile, sick, disgusting, in the gutter stuff. You know, it's almost like it is so revolting. It is so revolting. Now the Catholics have perfected that. The Roman Catholic guys, when they sit in their fucking outfits, those colored outfits, and the guy in white in the middle, and representing Jesus, and then in front of this brutal, vulgar sculpture with the head and it's sort of like Alien. It reminded me of the movie Alien when I saw this. And this Alex Gray artist would be on that side for me. He's not as extreme, but damn close to it. So obviously there is a lot of resistance when you're looking at paintings like this is a very disturbing trilogy here. But the point is, the best art, the way I have understood it, is honesty and sincerity is in the work. And generally speaking, I can pick it up. I can pick up the sincerity. There has to be a level of risk as well. I don't want to be told something I already know. But if I do already know what is being expressed, there will be subtle things that I say, oh, that's interesting. But there needs to be a level of risk, number one, that you're not sort of comfortable with what you're doing. There has to be sort of like you're on the edge of your chair, you don't know whether it's going to tip over. That's like Steve Wright in his thing, he feels like always he's sitting on a chair, balancing on two legs, never, that sort of feeling in a way. And that gets resolved through honesty and a sense of commitment to the mystery that is contained in the work. And artists have it instinctually. The good artists have that by instinct. Whether they have flaws in their character, and a lot of artists seem to have flaws in their character. Their virtues are minimal, whereas their flaws are always quite upfront. Whether they're alcoholics or they do shit in their life, and they seem to elevate themselves sometimes into a whole other level of existence, whether they're writers or painters or whatever they might do. But it's a bit of a conundrum in a sense. But I appreciate even artists that I know to have been quite flawed. Somebody like Warhol or Picasso, but they will only go so far from me. They will only have the essence of what I need to feed my nature. They will only be able to go so far. So I will learn and take some things, obviously, but they can only take me so far. So, when I refer to Warhol or Picasso, these are people that everybody seems to know. There are many other people that have a much greater impact on me. I'll even say somebody you probably know, Matisse, I think, was a much more evolved artist from the point of view of his ease of work. There was a sense of ease within Matisse that he exemplified, the simplicity that he expressed. He was a consummate draftsman. He was wonderful. He could, make an eye look like an eye. I'm nowhere near that kind of competence in terms of a natural ability that I would say he had, and to be able to represent the real world. But visually, I think what is important to me is to have this sense of honesty and risk in the work, and it's something you need to define for yourself. And you don't get it just because, oh, I know what I like. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, you can approach art that way, but it's a little bit more involved than that. As you apply yourself and inculcate yourself in some, especially if you're doing it as a creative person, you're inculcated in the process. There's going to be a lot more appreciation. Not saying that you can't appreciate if you're not a person doing it, but I'm just saying that there is a higher level of appreciation, generally speaking, I would say. So, no, I know what I like doesn't cut it for me. I'm sorry. No, people, it doesn't work that way. You need to be able to apply yourself. You can still love something and be honestly captivated by it. But I'm saying the ability to make a judgment on a work of art is a little bit more complicated when you get into that sense of recognition of something. It's very personal too. I mean, I'm not going to dance on this pin. If you love something, you love something, and I'm glad you do. I'm just saying for other people that are doing it, colleagues of mine, who understand that by having done it for a long period of time, you get good at it. Guaranteed, you get good at it, whatever it is you were doing for 40 years. Hopefully, you're on the right path. And then you're able to share part of that insight with other people through your work or even through like talking about it. I like talking about it. Anyway, 35 minutes. Okay. I think what I'm doing here as well, it's part of my healing. When I'm able to present myself to a dead fly, to a community, karma, ahimsa, I don't know. When you have hundreds of flies, ahimsa is the least on my mind. Anyway, when you're in a community of people that are their frequency, they're vibrating on the same frequency. They don't have to agree on everything, but there is a sense of care and love and appreciation. That makes a huge difference. The people who have expressed their desire for me to be well makes a huge difference, which is why probably I originally even was maybe somewhat egotistical to put myself out on YouTube. But I think I've transitioned a lot since my first 2009 presentation on YouTube. I have transitioned. I know I have. And I think these presentations, when I talk about my own experience, and often you see the work behind me, it creates, I don't know, it creates a kind of, obviously a camaraderie. You get your attack dogs and all of that shit that happened, but there is a camaraderie that creates a strength in us, I think. It makes us more determined. It gives us hope. It gives us that sense of community. Whether I meet people or not that's nice, but it's not essential. There is that ability to create a sort of threshold of wellness. Does that make sense? Like if you have enough people feeling and thinking the same way, you're going to make a difference in and I think this is what's happening, and how YouTube totally underestimates. They say, oh, we'll block these people. I don't know what they call that when they shadow ban and all that kind of stuff. When they don't allow you to be accessed by your peers out there, they try to block you, but it doesn't work because we find each other. Like I found this curandera here in town. She's a marvelous person. She's a wonderful person, and she's right in town here. I don't have to drive 3 hours one way and 3 hours back to get treatments. I get treatments, but much more, I get an understanding from a person that I'm dealing with more than a physical affliction somewhere that has to be dealt with. I found a person that understands healing as a state of being. And she's able to express that within her limitations, I'm sure, but she's able to express that in a way that makes sense to me. And everybody keeps on learning. We're all learning. Okay, people are falling outside my small town. Uh-oh. Okay. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. It's been long enough, and we got a friend of mine is calling me from Germany in a few minutes, so I think I'll stop. I will go on this topic of healing. It's the next level of connecting to the experience that I'm having. And people say, oh yeah, well, it goes without saying, healing. Yeah, well, when you break things down into the things that work and the things that don't work. This is how I am experiencing it. And I was caught in a state of being that was ruled by fear to begin with. I am now shifting into a state. I do have levels of anxiety, including things other than just myself, because Maria is going through stuff, which is creating another level of anxiety, because when you love a person and their suffering is no different in many ways from your own suffering, it's sometimes it could even be worse. I think that, when 5 years ago, I got sick, and Maria broke out in hives because she was so moved emotionally and afraid for me that she literally broke out, and hives are very uncomfortable. So it was a manifestation that showed me that another person can feel as affected by someone suffering, obviously. That's called empathy. Psychopaths don't have that. They just act. They just act out of impulse and vulgarity. The barbarians, the white coats, as I find those to be the most egregious people I've come across in the last 18 months, 20 months. I haven't had much contact with the other bunch that, the ruling bunch, those, what we understand to be politicians. They're not the ruling elites, though. They're just the front people. But my exposure has been to people in white coats that are absolutely despicable in their behavior. And well-meaning or not, I don't give a shit. They're more destructive than helpful. So stay away from them. That's what is healing? Stay away from the white coats as much as possible. If you break your arm, hopefully you get a decent. Maria broke her wrist, and there was damage from the healing part. They did it wrong. They made mistakes. And there were several people involved. One of them was kind, was good. I don't have a complaint about him. But like I said, whatever they might do well, they create a problem on the other end always. I don't know why. Maybe that's what I said. That's how the system is built that way, in order for them to fail. The system is based on failure. And they all get taught this as a dogma. Anyway, I'll end it here. That's got nothing to do with healing. Or it has to do with healing what you can avoid. Whatever you can avoid that makes you feel better, do it. Okay, that's it. My best to all of you.